Hi, this is part 2 of The World Behind Demonic Possession, and if you haven't already watched part 1, I suggest you do. Demons lure people in by false promises and by creating situations, and I know this because most people with so-called mental illnesses are victims of severe trauma. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe mental illness does exist, but I also believe there's an agenda behind why they're pushing it so much, especially in these shootings and things. It's because later on, not only will the people who people believe are mentally ill be locked away, especially when the FEMA camps come, but also those who oppose the system. But also, psychology has made up a lot of names and fabricated things because they don't believe in the spiritual realm. The term mental illness can be treated but can't be cured really bothers me. But before I talk about that, let me back up to trauma. Trauma is a huge doorway for demons. Why? Because it creates feelings that would not usually be present. Do you ever notice how a lot of times with these mental illnesses, people didn't have them when they were born, but somehow they developed them, and we'll start to figure out that a lot of these things have to do with trauma, like all of these things usually. Have you ever noticed most celebrities have disorders, and we also find out they were abused, molested, or bullied as children? This is why it's so important, because demons will do this to create conflicts. So a father will abuse his kids, or an uncle molest his niece or nephew. The kids at school seem to pick on this one kid. When this occurs, it creates feelings of rejection, guilt, condemnation, unforgiveness, hatred, and so on. These demons will use people to oppress you. Ever notice how no matter if two people have never met, they always have the same negative things to say you? So if your parents called you stupid, so will the kids at school, and so on, because these demons know that if they can get you to feeling alone, like nobody cares about you, like the world is against you, then they will, and then you'll have no one, because isolation is a big tactic they use. And then they will come and pretend to comfort you. They do this by whispering thoughts to those around you in their ears. And even if they don't even believe demons exist, a lot of them will start to act on the ideals that were given to them. This is why people who experience these things will begin to go off into their own little world to survive. They are usually great daydreamers, artists, and perfectionists. And I'm speaking from personal experience as someone who was bullied in school for not fitting in. I was also rejected in churches, even though I thought that would be a safe place to go. But it's because at one place in particular, all the people, like all the kids my age, they were friends with the pastor's daughter, and then they'd all grown up together. So I was the outsider, and I was different than them, and they a lot of times made it seem as if I'd be a bad influence on them when they were the ones actually doing a lot of the things that they found wrong. And also at the same church, they said that shyness was rude, and it really didn't sit well with me because I was very timid, and I'm timid. I was timid for a reason because of all the other trauma, because someone really close to me since I was pretty much a child, well, a little kid, since I can remember really, has verbally constantly abused me, so it created a lot of problems, and it also created the feeling of perfectionism, which was that constant belief that if my world could just be perfect, then I'd be satisfied, but I never was. And once I had a dream, I had everything I could ask for, and I was critical of myself. And this can be where a lot of eating disorders come into play, and I nearly fell into one because of it. But God showed me that through my dream, and has been helping me deal with it. And also, I received a picture one time of a person reaching for a star, and it really helped me because I saw, like, even though they were standing on top of this humongous building, the star was, billions of light years away. So it doesn't matter how far you get, you'll never like touch that star. And perfection is unattainable, even though in a perfectionist mind it seems as if it is. I share this example because I just wanted to give an ideal of where this trauma comes from. Also, trauma can create low self-esteem and self-worth. This is why these people will seek attention in the wrong places sometimes, why their art is so deep and heartfelt. It is a way of coping with their pain, but the reason these situations happen a lot of times is not because someone did not because that individual who's suffering these things, there's something wrong with them or they did something wrong. It's actually because the demons who, for whatever reason, want them dead or they want to possess them, create them so they can have a door. A lot of people who are molested will be left feeling guilty for something that isn't their fault and have hatred in their hearts towards the individual, and even sometimes people that remind them of that individual. And those unclean spirits from that person who molested them will try to latch onto them so these people sometimes will find themselves struggling with promiscuity, or sometimes even this is why sex offenders, we find out, were molested. So as you can see, trauma is one of the major doorways. Other ways can be generational. People in your family were involved with the occult, secret societies, even some fraternities and sororities because they pledged to other gods. Can lead to these things. And once again, in my family, it's not like I ever heard directly, but I have heard stories and I've seen signs of people that in my family are involved, and this could be another reason why the demons. I was struggling with all the demonic things. Ouija board, see, other ways through direct dabbling with the occult, whether it's tarot cards, Ouija boards, plenty of people have gotten possessed, like in the cases of the Zozo demon, palm reading, dowsing, lucid dreaming, which can occur naturally. I've had it happen to me before, and some people actually try to seek it out, which I believe is wrong. And I know on the Vigilant Christian channel that he talked about how he had it happen, and he actually woke up within a dream, and it was terrifying. I've had that happen too, and it's not fun. Remote viewing, channeling, because usually when you're channeling, you're not actually channeling who you think, whether it's a dead person or, which can be necromancy, which is another thing you shouldn't do, or an alien, because most likely you're going to be speaking to a demon. Or meditation, when you clear your mind, because you can actually allow your body to have demons can have access to it. Astral projection, even though I know it can occur naturally, but you shouldn't seek it out. Going to a fortune teller, having a psychic read you your fortune or tell you, because a lot of times they don't know, but the demon will actually try to go out and create that situation or whatever to make it seem as if it happened. And of course, some of them are con artists. Sometimes it may not be you directly dabbling, but it could actually be someone else exterior working something against you for whatever reason. Maybe they saw you and don't like you. Maybe they just want to do something to you. When I was in elementary, I used to have kids constantly coming up to me sharing their stories of witchcraft, of how they and their parents were involved in it. One girl even tried to trick me to pray to Satan. And another I knew actually bragged about how she had all this stuff, as a child. Like, I have all these toys and things, and she told me all these potions and weird things that she used, and it was creepy. She even told me that the devil created God, and that when you go to hell, you were going to be rewarded, and that the Satan would welcome you. It was really creepy. I know it sounds weird, but the devil will send his agents. Men and women have to be careful when they're out, especially in clubs, public places where they're hooking up, which I personally do not recommend because, like in the story I'm currently working on, there are men and women who are witches who go out to these places for the sole purpose of finding victims to sleep with and transfer demons to. In Mark 10:8, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh in marriage. You become one. Well, old school marriage in the Bible used to be sex. That was it. And this creates soul ties. Whatever is on them will transfer to you if you are not careful. And if they're demon possessed, their demons will start bothering you, and it will be a mess. Also, some people have actually taken on personalities of people they've slept with, and that's why after a while, if people sleep with too many people, they might actually start feeling jaded inside and having their personality, like all these random pieces of people they picked up. You have to be careful what you eat. A lot of people in the occult will make dishes and invite people over to their house after dedicating it to demons. When that person eats that, the demon is on it. And these people are usually the most friendly people, and they will show up at a lot of people's local churches and be like the nice people of the community. Through objects. Some demons travel with objects. This is where talismans and other practices come into play. There have been stories of people who have visited other nations and brought back a souvenir, and they had no idea it was cursed, and they got really sick. I have stories share. My grandmother had someone actually take a piece of her hair. They pretended to comb through it and play with it, and after they took that piece of hair, her her hair fell off and she lost it. That was witchcraft. So be careful who you let touch you. And witches collect fingernails, toenails, hair, sperm, usually from condoms, tampons, and pads. They collect the blood from it to do rituals and work spells. And if you have ever heard of Rita McPherson, she goes as far to say that in some hospitals when men get circumcised, some witches actually work in hospitals to take some of their foreskin to actually use it to get spirit spouses put on them. Even when you take your baby to be baptized, because they're not making that decision for themselves or even dedicating in the womb can actually lead to spirit spouses. And some people who are in the occult actually work in the hospital to have access to the blood banks. And spirit spouses will not only prey on their victim when they are asleep and give them sexual dreams and wet dreams, they can also possess a person if let in and cause marriage problems, divorces, trouble having any type of relationship, financial hardships, miscarriages, barrenness, and they want you to themselves. They will try to destroy your life. Sex is a big doorway. I sort of went over that, but anything from pornography, masturbation, fornication to adultery all can lead to it. With that being said, be careful what you watch. Like Steve Quayle said, Hollywood is called Hollywood because back in the day, witches used to make their wands from Hollywood, from a holly tree. So yes, a lot of the shows they create are designed to put spells on you. And this is why they tell you to change the channel for your programming. Because spirits can transfer through movies, TV, music, video games, books, just as they can through porn. Because demons use thoughts. And like I said earlier with the other people, have you ever had disturbing thoughts or images you don't even know where they came from or weren't your own? That's demons, and they will use your mind just like they love to attack you in your sleep, because when you sleep your body rests, and it's actually in contact with the spiritual realm. This is when the devil sows his evil seeds and false memories can be implanted. It sounds funny, but this is a very real, and this is why also people will wake up feeling sick, and it only gets worse during the day because that seed of sickness was sowed. Drugs and narcotics can also cause it because, you're no longer in control of your body. It's more open. So its original purpose was actually to get closer to the spirits, and it was introduced by the Watchers. Also, sometimes we involve ourselves with occultic activity without even knowing it. Christmas, we've heard is a pagan holiday. It used to celebrate King Nimrod, who exalted himself as a god, tried to set up the first one world government in the Tower of Babel after the flood. The tree actually is used as a symbol for the Yule season, which is an occult theme on December 21st. Estar after his wife Ishtar. And basically dying eggs is actually symbolic of when they used to kill Christians and the blood of them. And searching for the egg was actually was symbolic of searching for Ishtar to be reborn. I also learned from the Shield of the Sun's channel that Valentine's Day is in honor of Nama, who I talked about in my Exposing Paranormal Romance video, and Azazel's pre-flood relationship, represented as Cupid, and she, on that day, actually used to have multiple orgies. She was seen as the most beautiful woman of the world at that time, and was celebrated as a celebrity as day. These are just a few. You can research this stuff. Also, when you throw a coin in a fountain, that is in honor of the water spirits. You just made an indirect covenant. Just little things like that you have to watch. Why do you think they encourage us to wish on a wishing well? With that being said, I've given you a few doorways. Please stay tuned for part 3. Thank you for watching.